Another thing to look at is the nutrient values that are put in nutritional fact labels. And we have to look in and take into consideration what it's based on a 2000 calorie diet, but how does that differ for age and gender? And what we noticed that, for example, a man who's age 25 and is moderately active, has a weight of 80 kilos with a normal BMR, they might have higher calorie needs as in comparison to a woman who's age 60, who's inactive, has a normal BMR but only weighs 45 kilograms. And if you're looking at this, the nutritional labeling, it's based on what is recommended for an adult. But if a kid was about to look at the size and it has a certain serving size and maybe the calorie content is about 300 calories, that is for an adult. They do not need that amount of calories. And these nutritional labels, they do not correct for age, sex, and size. So this was an interesting study that was done to manipulate the amount of food served to children and compare it to their actual consumption. Based on observation, what we know is that over time, as kids eat more, they have a tendency to continue to eat a lot more food. The researchers examined whether the quantity of food presented influenced how much the child ate. While it's well known that adults tend to eat more when larger portions are served, this isn't as pronounced in younger kids. Similarly, when more food was placed on their plates, children didn't necessarily eat more compared to when less food was served. In fact, when given a choice, they tended to select smaller portions and consequently add less. However, as children grow older, their consumption tends to increase. Therefore, if they are accustomed to smaller portions, their reference for how much they eat is based on that amount. When a larger quantity of food is offered, their consumption rises compared to their usual intake, resulting in a significant increase in food consumption. Ultimately, it's clear that the amount of food presented influences how much children eat, with larger portions leading to greater consumption. In addressing the various problems associated with obesity, we can outline different responsibilities that various entities should undertake. Firstly, the government has a pivotal role in ensuring truth in advertising, regulating nutritional labeling, implementing policies that promote physical activity, and allocating more funding towards research on obesity prevention and treatment. Establishing standards for school nutrition programs is also needed to ensure children receive more nutrient-dense food. The government should also oversee publicly controlled kitchens, focusing not only on catering for banquets, but also providing for low-income communities and individuals. For example, soup kitchens, meal delivery services like Meals on Wheels, and also the development of health policies to guide the public and promote health education initiatives. And all of these are really crucial steps in combating obesity effectively. And these were just some of the recommendations that have emerged from the 25 non-governmental organizations in collaboration with the World Health Organization. And these suggestions aim to influence people's behavior by granting the government more authority over food consumption. However, in countries like the US with more democratic governance structures, such measures may face challenges, especially in regulating food producers. Initiatives such as banning advertisements for high-fat, sugary, and high-salt foods might encounter resistance. Nevertheless, implementing straightforward labelings on food is a feasible goal, although challenges persist, particularly concerning salt and trans fat labeling due to pressure from the private sector. And we know that developing all these programs are really essential to promote increased physical activity and educating individuals about healthier lifestyle choices. And how does that all kind of relate to combating obesity? Also, based on that joint statement, but we know some of the actions that needs to be done by the food industry and the retail sector. They should look into reformulating staple foods, developing healthier snacks, candy and soft drinks, and also provide long-term marketing campaign to children in order to particularly in terms of promoting fruit and vegetables. And this is actually really very interesting because we see that there is a current shift towards developing more healthier snacks. And if you look at some of the videos that have been published based on interviews done with your food manufacturing companies, they said that if there is a demand for healthier snacks, they are willing to actually shift their production towards healthier food products. And we see that slow shift happening in America, but it's transitioning a lot faster in other countries. Also, here, this is another diagram that focuses on obesity prevention in school-age children. And one critical aspect of preventing obesity is intervening at a very young age to prevent children from reaching their overweight or obese status. So by addressing this early on, we could spare them the lifelong struggle on weight management. And research shows a strong correlation between childhood weight status and adult weight status. Thin children are likely to remain thin as adults, while overweight or obese children are more likely to struggle with weight throughout their lives. And this is true because if you start increasing the amount of fat cells, first they start increasing in size and then they increase in number. And even though you lose significant amounts of weight, you're not going to decrease the amount of fat cell. So you're always at that increased risk of putting on a lot more weight. It's also imperative for governments to prioritize interventions targeting children, particularly within your school environment. While recess and physical activity are important, fostering lifelong patterns of healthy eating and behavior requires a comprehensive approach that extends beyond the school walls. Unfortunately, there's a chronic problem in the US with health instruction in schools. While children are taught of the importance of being active and consuming fewer calories, they often encounter calorie-dense, nutritionally poor options in the school cafeteria. And there's this interesting book that was written by Marion Nestle on this, on food politics, and how there's just limited funding in schools, and schools have to rely on funding coming from your food manufacturers, and that leads to, increased vending machines and increased calorie-dense foods that is being sold in the school canteen. And so to truly impact children's behavior, there's a need for a multifaceted approach that involves all aspects of their environment. This includes like initiatives like introducing salad bars and gardens in schools, cafeterias, and also community playgrounds. And so when we integrate these various elements, such as education, access to healthy foods, opportunities for physical activity, we can create an environment that supports healthier choices. And it's crucial to recognize that changing children's behavior requires a holistic approach that addresses all aspects of their environment simultaneously. And so this study over here examined fruit sales in comparison to soda, Twinkies, and other nutritionally empty calorie-dense food commonly available in schools. Researchers monitored weekly food sales at the school and manipulated the pricing of food items to observe how it influenced students' choices. They offered they offered various kinds of fruit at lower price compared to other baseline prices, which were set higher. And the results were really compelling because when fruits was priced lower than calorie-dense foods, students overwhelmingly chose fruit. This suggests that when healthy options are economically favorable, students are more inclined to make healthier choices. And so the study underscores a strong correlation between pricing and food choices, highlighting the potential impact of economic factors on dietary decision in school settings. Let's explore some successful initiatives from other countries. However, let me reiterate, thus far, no nation has successfully managed to decrease the prevalence of overweight and obesity among their population. And in Finland, a long-term program implemented in 1970 to about 1990s yielded significant success. One key factor was the collaboration across different sectors, where individual agencies directly engaged with local community organizations. This local level collaboration proved essential, ensuring that the program was effectively implemented and that feedback loops were established to assess its impact. Responsible agencies play a crucial role in collecting and reporting information, monitoring behavioral changes, and demonstrating the effectiveness of policy changes and interventions. International collaborations also play a vital role, facilitating communication between agencies, conducting similar initiatives, and fostering partnership with food groups. Among the critical components highlighted in blue were nutritional education programs aimed at empowering individuals to make informed decisions about their diets. This included educating people on understanding food labels and ingredients, as well as supporting voluntary organizations that could provide local education programs and resources, such as cooking classes and fitness opportunities. Additionally, food labeling and pricing policies were emphasized to ensure that healthy options were readily available and competitively priced compared to less healthy alternatives. By providing clear and accessible nutrition information and ensuring equitable pricing, these initiatives aim to encourage healthier food choices and promote overall well-being in the community. This study was conducted in Norway and it aimed to address obesity by prompting people to make changes in their dietary habits. They succeeded in reducing the amount of fat consumed despite an overall increase in total calorie intake from 1970s to 1990s. So we see the fat decrease, but the amount of calories did increase. Interestingly, while carbohydrate consumption increased during that period, fat intake, which is more calorie dense than carbohydrates, actually decreased. The study also explored associated issues related to omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid, examining triglyceride and free fatty acid levels in the blood. However, the primary focus was on reducing rates of obesity and coronary artery disease. By targeting dietary fat intake, the study achieved considerable success in addressing these health concerns. And what they were actually able to demonstrate through this program was that even though coronary heart disease rates had risen from the age group for men at age 50 to 59, and they were able to significantly reduce those rates further than they would likely have if they have not initiated the program. So we can see from 1940s all the way to 1970s, there was a sharp increase and then there was a decline. And this was when they started to introduce that program. And by 2000, the incidence of coronary heart disease has already halved compared to that previous level. So this graph may look a bit confusing, but it provides valuable insights into childhood obesity management and educational activities. What it indicates is that when both the child and parent receive education and are targeted with management programs, the child tends to lose significantly more weight compared to only when the child is educated and they're only targeted for specific activities. So as we can see, only child, you do not reduce a lot more weight. When we are talking about non-specific programs, such as ones that are aimed at both adults and children, the effectiveness in terms of children losing weight is not very high. Also, when programs are solely focused on addressing overweight or obesity issues, likely aimed at adults, they do not yield significant benefits for children. However, when programs are designed specifically for children, involving both them and their parents, these tend to be the most effective. These programs can guide children in weight loss efforts, and the involvement of parents likely contribute to better outcomes as they may also be adopting healthier habits alongside the children. I would like to conclude this lecture by discussing changes individuals can make, many of which you may already be involved in. Encouraging the consumption of healthy food is crucial. At UWGB, initiatives like Meatless Mondays promote vegetarian options and healthier choices in the cafeteria. Similarly, implementing salad bars in schools, as done in the Green Bay Public School area, and monitoring children's behaviors are important steps towards promoting and providing healthier options both at schools and in the workplace. Protesting inadequate nutrition policies and practices is also essential. For instance, demanding clearer labeling on genetically modified foods, as required in Europe but not yet in the US, reflects public advocacy for better information. Promoting healthy food involves collaborative efforts to improve access, such as establishing grocery stores in inner city communities and increasing community gardens to provide fresh food produced for food pantries. And this is something that's happening in Chicago, where they have started to have grocery stores in inner city communities. Also, educating people on how to prepare healthy meals is equally important, bridging the gap between access and knowledge. Media campaigns, I think it was really very popular maybe in the early 2000s that were led by figures by Dr. Oz and Oprah. They play a role in disseminating information about the risk of consuming too much salt, trans fat, and sugar. Our response to such information influences whether these shows continue to provide valuable insights. Advocating for fiscal changes can discourage the purchase of obesity-causing foods by creating subsidies for nutritious options and imposing taxes on unhealthy ones like soda. While such measures, they usually tend to face a lot of resistance, making nutritious foods more affordable and incentivizing participation in diet and weight management programs can yield positive outcomes. Legislative changes, often reflected in nutrition guidelines and labeling standards, also play a very important role. Lobbying efforts by industries like the meat industry and the dairy industry here in America does influence dietary recommendations, highlighting the needs for balanced representation in such guidelines. And you might assume that this information is purely objective, but it's not. There's significant influence from competing organizations aiming to shape this information. Thus, ensuring the objectivity of this information, especially concerning nutritional labeling and understanding food type, is crucial. And with that, I will end here.